St. Petersburg. Located on the Finnish Bay of the Baltic Sea, the second largest city in Russia at times appears thoroughly westernized, breathtakingly romantic and refreshingly progressive, yet can also reveal an enigmatic soul, charmless feel, frustrating backwardness. Peter the Great decided on May the 16th, 1703 that the location in the delta of the Neva River would be a perfect port for his future navy. In 1712, Peter declared St. Petersburg the new capital of Russia. Boyars and merchants reluctantly moved to the young city, where they were obliged to build large dwellings at their own expense. By the time of Peter's death in 1725, close to 100,000 people inhabited the city. Peter and Paul Fortress. In 1703, Peter the Great laid the first stone of the Peter and Paul Fortress, an outpost on Tiny Hare's Island designed to defend against the Swedes. Within 5 months of groundbreaking, a wooden fortress and a church had been erected. By the time it was completed, 1 year after Peter's death in 1725, the ensemble had been rebuilt. In stone it was protected by 12-meter thick walls supporting some 300 pieces of artillery. The church's belfry supports the needle-like gilded spire that can be seen from all over the city, was intended to be the highest structure in the country and to distinguish the St. Petersburg skyline from Moscow's. With the Swedes vanquished, the fortress was used as a prison, and the first inmate was Peter's own son, Tsarevich Alexei, plotting against the towering monarch. The church's interior, decorated in breathtaking Baroque and featuring a lovely iconostasis, houses today the sarcophagi of the Romanov monarchs. Peter the Great's tomb is easily discerned, being the only topped by a bust of its occupant. Also of interest within the fortress is area a functioning mint, a boathouse, and a controversial statue of Peter the Great, crafted by native sculptor Michael Shemakin in 1991. Hermitage Museum. The Hermitage is the mother of all art museums. It boasts the biggest collection of artwork and antiquities in the world. In terms of sheer size and scope, it has only 3 rivals: the Louvre in Paris, the Prado in Madrid, and Met in New York. The holdings of the collection include some 12,000 sculptures, 15,000 paintings, 225,000 works of applied art, and over 600,000 drawings and prints. Spanning 400 of the Winter Palace's 1,035 rooms, the exhibition is made up of 2.8 million display pieces, and is said that to spend a few moments at each one would require 9 years. Pushkin, Tsarskoye Selo. The town of Pushkin, old name Tsarskoye Selo, is a remarkable monument to Russian national culture. It is called a town garden. World-famed Pushkin's parks have been laid out for about 3 centuries. The outstanding art monument of the 18th century is the Catherine Park with beautiful sculptures in honor of military glory. The museum exhibitions are opened in parks and gardens of the town, where one can see peerless samples of art made by Russian masters of wood, bone, stone, metal and other kinds of material. Peterhof, Petrodvorets, is the finest of the museum towns in the environs of St. Petersburg. The town originally grew up around the smaller residence of Peter the Great, which was built in 1705. During the 18th century, Peterhof became a unique monument of architecture consisting of the palace and the Justin Park, with its sculptures which all blend into the original scenery of this part of the coast of the Gulf of Finland in a surprisingly harmonious manner. The first drawings of these countryside residences were made by Peter I himself. The erection of these palace park ensemble went on till the end of the 19th century. Its great fountains and cascades were erected in memory of the outstanding event in Russian history, the victory in the North War. Petrov Dvorets is unique for its fountains. There are 134 of them, more than 2,000 water jets in common. The water pipe system of the Petrov Dvorets fountains is a unique monument of Russian engineering skill. It was designed by Russian engineer Vasily Tuvolkov.
Добрый вечер, уважаемые дамы и господа. Разрешите вас поздравить с началом круиза и пожелать вам счастливого плавания.
God eftermiddag, ladies and gentlemen. Må jeg have lov til at byde jer rigtig velkommen på dette begyndelsen til dette cruise og ønske jer en rigtig god tur.
В завершение вышесказанного я хочу вам пожелать хорошего, здорового отдыха и предлагаю наш русский тост «За здоровье».
Og nu vil kaptajnen gerne have lov til at ønske jer en god rejse med godt helbred. Og nu ønsker jeg skål, som vi siger på dansk.
За здоровье.
За здоровье.
родная моя, деревенька колхозница, смущенной улыбкой меня обожгла. К тебе мое сердце по-прежнему просится, а я все не еду, дела и дела.
Kiji Island. Situated in the northeast region of Lake Onega, the island of Kiji is home to an outdoor museum of fascinating wooden architecture, including the remarkable Transfiguration Cathedral. The generally accepted version of its early beginnings is that it was the ancient pagan ritual site for northern tribes. Kiji is small and narrow, measuring approximately 6 kilometers by 1 kilometer. Officially called the State Historical, Architectural and Ethnographic Preserve of Kiji, the collection of structures planted predominantly along the southern tip of the island consists of churches, chapels, bell towers, peasant houses, granaries, barns, windmills and bathhouses, all brought from all around the Onega region to collectively illustrate the styles of architecture common to the Russian north. The focal point, referred to as the Kiji Ensemble, comprises the awe-inspiring Transfiguration Cathedral, the neighboring Intercession Church, and the Bell Tower. The two churches of the ensemble are the only structures originally built on the island. 30,000 shingles on the 22 separate cupolas situated on the 5 tiers compose the ascending nest that is the Transfiguration Cathedral, built in 1714. There is a popular legend that the cathedral was built by one man with one tool, an axe. The master carpenter named Nestor hurled his axe into Lake Onega, proclaiming, "There never was, nor will be there, ever be such." The shingles are made of aspen wood, which resists withering fairly well, responds to aging very well. Midday sunshine makes them shimmer like silver, while the light of dawn or dusk turns them a rich purple. The interior of the Intercession Church is open to visitors and houses icons from its close neighbor. Built in 1764 as a winter church, its roof was constructed without nails. Was built in the year 1986 in the former German Democratic Republic on the dockyards of Boitzenburg-Roslau. Technical features: length 129,1 meters, width 16,7 meters, height 13 meters, water displacement tonnage 3,853 tons, draft 2,8 meters, maximum passenger capacity 332 passengers, 3 main motors produced in the city of Nizhny Novgorod, general capacity of 3,000 horsepower, 3 screws, the blades are exchangeable, 4 diesel generators, capacity 600 kilowatts, fuel consumption per day 8 tons, drinking water supply on board 200 tons, operating personnel and maintenance staff 89 persons, kitchen personnel 39 persons.
Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. We are glad to see all of you on our vodka tasting show.
God eftermiddag, mine damer og herrer. Meget glad for at se jer alle sammen til vores eftermiddags vodka-smagning. 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Goritsi. At the very end of the 14th century, an unusually pious monk Kirill was appointed abbot of Moscow St. Simeon Monastery. One day, while kneeling in prayer in his Moscow monastery, he heard the voice beckoning him to look up. Obeying the voice, he beheld a vision of the Virgin, who commanded him to travel north and found a monastery. By the following year, Kirill had erected 2 small churches, a cell for himself and quarters for those who might want to join him in his retreat. By the time of his death, 30 years after founding the monastery, Father Superior Kirill had firmly established the monastery not only as a home for disciplined religious worship, but as a feudal lordship administrating a host of villages and 40 separate plots of land, including the serfs attached to those lands. The monastery remained loyal to Moscow throughout the ensuing time of troubles, assuming the role of bulwark and resisting foreign invaders. In the 18th century, the monastery reached the apex of its prosperity, with holdings consisted of 20,000 serfs, 400 villages, and associated plots of land, a salt works. Resurrection Convent. For years was a weed-racked shambles. It was founded in 1544 by Moscow Princess Yefrosinia, wife of Ivan the Great's youngest son, Prince Andrei Staritsky. Yefrosinia herself was exiled to the very monastery she founded in Goritsi and forced to take the veil under the name of Yevdokia. Yaroslavl is among the oldest and most well-known of all Russian provincial cities. From the 8th through 10th century, Finno-Ugric tribes occupied the towering banks above the Volga, where the river is joined by a tributary, the Kotorosl River. The outpost was called Bear Corner, as the pagan Finno-Ugric revered and worshipped bears. Occasionally, the tribes would exploit their privileged riverfront position and ambush passing merchant ships. In 1218, Yaroslavl became the capital of its own principality. Ivan the Great annexed the principality to Moskva in 1463 during his search for unification of the Russian lands. At the onset of the time of troubles in 1598, the Russian capital was transferred temporarily to Yaroslavl from Imperial Moscow. The Church of St. Elijah the Prophet is a mainstay on the local tour itinerary, and deservedly so. Built in 1647-1650, the church features a unique asymmetrical exterior, covered galleries, a belfry, portico, and bulky spire of an adjoining chapel. The compelling overall effect is surpassed only by that of the treasures inside the building. The main sightseeing destination in Yaroslavl is a Savior Transfiguration Monastery. Founded in the 12th century, the monastery is one of the Volga's oldest and original sentimental favorite. The Gold Dome Transfiguration Cathedral, main belfry, monk cells, and meter-thick fortress walls were all undertaken at various times during the 16th and 17th centuries. Uglitch. A 1916 Volga guidebook remarks, the city of Uglitch is not in the present, it always lives in the past. In 937, an envoy of Kiev, Prince Igor, visited a Slavonic trading settlement on the high right bank of the Volga to register the population. The town's officially recognized founding, however, is in 1148, the date it was first mentioned in the chronicles. The town's name is explained by different theories. The first is that it is derived from the Russian word ugol, meaning angle, for the Volga makes a sharp bend at Uglitch. The second is that it is again derived from the word ugol, which means coal, for coal was burnt here. The third is that it is derived from the name of the town's original settlers, a Finno-Ugric tribe supposedly called Uglitchi. The Green Dome Transfiguration Cathedral, built in 1713, is an active place of Orthodox worship, often resounding with religious singing. The Red Church of St. Dimitri and the Blood, built in 1692 after the canonization of murdered Tsarevich Dmitri, is a fine example example of 17th century architecture designed with the love of embellishment, rich ornamentation and striking colors.
Добрый вечер, уважаемые дамы и господа. Вот уже завтра заканчивается наше плавание. Мы прибываем в город Москву.
Good evening, dear ladies and gentlemen. Our cruise is coming to its end, and unfortunately tomorrow we arrive in Moscow.
Mine damer og herrer, nu er vores krydstogt ved at komme til sin ende, og i morgen desværre ankommer vi til Moskva.
Сейчас наш русский тост за здоровье.
And of course our traditional Russian toast, za zdоровье, to your health.
Og så drikker vi selvfølgelig den traditionelle skål, na zdоровье, til jeres helbred.
За здоровье.
follow the news or lay down for a quick snooze. Of course, there was time for party and booze while we traveled on the Russian River cruise. Our children at home think we're quite lame. Now they're sure we are completely insane. We told them we stayed up until the sun rose. It was all of one or two, I suppose.
Moscow, the capital of the largest country on earth, the one-time seat of an empire and command post of global politics, is alternately considered to be Asian, European, both and neither. 857 years old and currently existing amidst rapidly changing political and economic conditions, Moscow presents a dazzling array of the old and new, the alienating and quaint, the shabby and sparkling. The generally accepted version of founding of Russia's capital is that Suzdal Prince Yuri Dolgoruki, the long-armed, visited a village atop Borovitsky Hill in 1147 and decided it had all the makings of a future metropolis. The stones came from a quarry near Lake Onega. Its square is bordered by the Kremlin Wall, St. Basil's Cathedral, GUM department store, and the multi-gabled red brick State Historical Museum. What captivates the visitor to Red Square is the orgy of multicolored onion domes that is St. Basil's Cathedral. Considered the embodiment of traditional Russian architecture, the structure actually is a deviation from convention, consisting of 9 connecting chapels organized on a fairly simple layout. Kremlin. Kremlin comprises the historical heart and soul of Russia. The very history of Moscow begins with it, an ancient fortress settlement built on Borovitsky Hill beside the Moskva River. Nowadays, this unique ensemble is carefully maintained as a reserve of Russian art and architecture. The total length of the Kremlin walls is 2 kilometers 235 meters. At the foot of the bell tower of Ivan the Great, there stands the biggest bell in the world, the 210-ton Tsar bell, which never rung. Next to it there stands another outstanding example of the Russian casting, the 40-ton Tsar cannon, the largest cannon in the world, never fired. The white limestone Assumption Cathedral with its 5 gilded cupolas stood for centuries as the national shrine of Russia. Tsars were coronated and patriarchs crowned in front of its altar. The Annunciation Cathedral, built in the late 16th century, served for centuries as personal shrine for the Tsars. These days it boasts an unequaled collection of significant icons. At the edge of the Kremlin grounds is Russia's most fascinating museum, the State Armory Chamber.